Hello everyone, what's up? My name is Sharpwell. Today I want to make a video regarding Pentimento. Um, a while back I made a video, guide video on Eruption, and today I wanted to talk about Pentimento. Now, I myself only use Pentimento on a very few selected killers, um, but when the perk came out, I thought it was a very unique perk. And this is saying something because I hardly ever even run any hex perks. I never really enjoyed hex perks. They're a risk-reward type of perks for killers. But this basically kind of adds in a new sort of mechanic, and there really isn't a lot of perks that add in a new mechanic. While the description of it is kind of huge, it's kind of simple. Once a totem is broken, you basically get to rekindle it into your own new hex, which is the Pentimento hex, and so that way it can grow and it can already start taking effect, right? Now basically there is a whole challenge between the killer community where you try to achieve 5 stacks of Pentimento, right? The whole ideal of this perk is kind of to get to that challenge, you know, see if you can get those 5 stacks. However, this isn't always ideal. There are times where you just want to grab very few of its starting effects, mainly the first one, which is a slowdown to repairing gens by 30%. The rest are very helpful, but they're really not necessary. And once you're getting the 5 stacks, it basically shuts and confirms all these effects to be permanent throughout the game. So thus being a very strong, perk. However, I feel like you need to dedicate all your perks into this, as Pentimento is basically 4 effects. It's a slowdown on gens, so you could basically consider that as a perk, a slowdown on healing, a slowdown on recovery, and a slowdown on opening gates. All these are basically the effects. Once you get the 5th stack, that just makes it so that it's guaranteed. But then again, kind of like I was saying, you probably need to dedicate yourself to a build on this. Now, before I go on and explain it, on how I used it and how I got 5 stacks of it, the thing is that you cannot always go for the 5 stacks, and you can't always rely on a very combo that I've seen a lot, which is Hex Plaything with Pentimento. This is a very good combo, but you're still gonna need to put some other hex on, because there are 5 hex totems, and this still means that even if a survivor gets playthinged, they could just go there and bless it. They don't have to cleanse it, they can just bless their plaything. So it really depends. And I don't think Pentimento fits in the meta. It is a very strong perk, but I don't think it fits in the meta, because there is a mechanic out there for survivors that came out not too long ago, which basically shuts down Pentimento, which is a blessing. So it's sad that Pentimento gets, countered by one mechanic entirely, which is blessing, but you can kind of have a little bit of leniency through this mechanic. And I'm basically gonna try to explain it here on my build that I use. So, the killer that I'm playing is Sadako, as you can see from the footage. And I do this with Sadako because Sadako has great mobility. Definitely, the killers that I recommend you doing this with are fast mobility killers. So use it with, try to get the 5 stacks with Wraith, Blight, Hag, Freddy, Demogorgon. anyone who has a great mobility nerd spirit, they are definitely more of the easier ones to go for. I could maybe consider something like Trapper or Nemesis, because Trapper can trap a totem and Nemesis can get a zombie to push survivors off totems. So they're useful, but they're not high mobility, so keep that in mind. The reason you want to have a killer with high mobility is that so they can go to a totem, rekindle it, go to another one, rekindle it as fast as possible. That's basically what you want. Now, as I was saying about sometimes you have to just roll with the first few effects. There are times where you're gonna have to make a choice. If you notice that survivors are still blessing, they're not cleansing, this is the time where it's better to just grab some of the effect of Pentimento, just so that you don't let it go to waste, right? There was a match on a video not too long ago where I did this. I noticed that there was still some survivors blessing, and even though that there is a perk that I'm using that slows down blessing tenfold, even though that there was that up, the survivors would still bless. So there are times where you cannot always go for the 5-stack Pentimentos. It's best to just grab some Pentimento effect already, just so that you can get already its greatest effect, which is to slow down on gens. And I've done this on various other occasions where I noticed that there were probably like 3 broken totems, but the rest was just getting blessed or they wouldn't get broken at all. Sometimes you just have to do that. And if you do manage to get the 5 Pentimento stacks, normally it's around the end game anyways, so the first effect isn't going to be that useful, the other effects will, but you could still try to juice it out as much as possible. And yeah, that's Pentimento. Now let's get through my build. So the build that I'm using is Pentimento. I use Blood Favor, Thrill of the Hunt, or I switch it out to Undying at times, and Haunted Ground. Now, the reason why sometimes I change Thrill to Undying is basically so that I could maybe get a double Haunted Ground value, and that right there is huge. Getting 2 Haunted Grounds is huge. It's basically 2 minutes of survivors being one-shot, and you can definitely take that time to get a lot of pressure. If you use those 2 minutes, insane. Now definitely 1 minute is very good enough too. I've definitely been able to get 2 downs just with 1 minute, and that's good. That's good Haunted Ground value. So what I recommend, sometimes I change Undying to Thrill, is basically I have to have like kind of like an instinct feeling like, okay, I feel like these survivors are all in a Swift and they're going to bless. In that very same match on Mother's Dwelling, where I felt like these survivors were all friends, and they were all in a lobby together, they all loaded up together. They weren't in comms, but they were still all loaded up together. I kind of felt like someone was gonna try blessing, and they did. So that's when Thrill of the Hunt becomes a huge value perk. It basically makes a survivor trying to bless when there are 5 totems up basically a gen's worth time, and that is huge. That is huge value. That is the hugest value of them all. Now, Blessing may actually have died down a little bit since the nerf to Boon Circle of Healing. However, Boon Circle of Healing is still probably the strongest boon in my opinion, so it's still probably not going to go anywhere. You're still going to get those in matches. be aware when there is a boon circle of healing. You kind of have to identify who that is, because if that person is the type to just bless the totem that you just snuffed out a couple of seconds ago, that's kind of where the whole your Pentimento being countered comes from, right? It is giving you value though, because the survivor's wasting more time, but again, you're trying to get your Pentimento stacks. And in this match, on how I got it was basically letting the game play out, right? Sometimes you just need to let the game play out and not worry about it. If you do worry about it too much, that's when you won't get your Pentimento. So let it play out, let the game just flow at a normal pace, and yeah, if you let the game flow at a normal pace, you might just get the 5 Pentimento stacks and be useful with that. But yeah, that is it, everyone. That's kind of my trick on Pentimento. Again, try using high mobility killers. Sadako is probably my favorite to do this. This is my build. You can definitely try slapping Hex Plaything. It's a very good combination with Pentimento. Just note that they might still counter it with Blessing. There's nothing really we can do as killers to stop Blessing, unfortunately. So Pentimento becomes this kind of hit or miss thing. And yeah. But if you are at the end game, you're at 2 gens, just already start rekindling some totems. It's best to get some value out of Pentimento rather than none. And the greatest value you have is the first effect. So yeah, that's it, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I will catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.